Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. We're getting into the colder months here in the UK. Certainly, there's a wild sort of swing of a weather. Because it was like a week ago or something. We had like 20 something degrees, which is hot by the way for the UK, surprisingly hot. And then now it's like I don't know. I mean, if I look at the weather now, it's going to be pretty cold because it's like 10 p.m. But it's like, you know, in the morning it's like 9 degrees or something. It's actually 16 right now, which is not that bad, all things considered. But tomorrow, let's see tomorrow. Tomorrow's raining at 16 and 17 degrees, so that's actually not too bad, all things considered. But yeah, in the past 2 days when I woke up in the morning, it's been very cold. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Yeah, so right now it's actually not that cold, but you know, part of that reason is because I've got an electric blanket on, which is something very new to me personally, something I wouldn't usually, well, I mean, didn't even buy, was given, and you know, I'm just like using it to warm up, I suppose. I mean, I've spoken about it before. I'm not really the type of person to buy things for myself, you know. Unless it's like incredibly practical, like as a sort of like need it basis. Most of the time, my brain, for some reason, instead of being like, oh, you know, you could just buy this, you know, considering if it's like a worthy investment or not or something. Of course, you know, I'm not going to spend money like. I was going to say frugally. That's the wrong word. Frivolously. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I'm not really the type to buy an electric blanket, which is why, you know, I didn't. This is why it was given to me. But I'm using it now. And it's pretty warm, I would say. I mean, part of the reason I think it's warm is just because it's like a reasonably thick blanket in the first place. It's something, you know, maybe I'll try out like at nighttime. I'm going to be honest, I don't get cold enough at nighttime yet. To warrant the use, I think, for an electric blanket. Certainly in the winter months, I think I will, but, you know. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's never been a thing which has particularly appealed to me, I suppose, you know. I've heard stories from friends and family being like electric blankets are really great, really warm. People like staying warm and that sort of thing. Like, I mean, I think the biggest sort of thing spoken about is I remember talking to a friend. I remember, it's still like an ongoing conversation. That's like, hey, we should like get a kotatsu. If you don't know what a kotatsu is, it's one of those like heated blanket tables that you from Japan, which is I mean, that's basically it. It's basically a table, and it's got like, and it doesn't have a tablecloth, but it's got like a blanket hanging off like the corners of it, so you know it's like it's like the table is enclosed in a blanket, I suppose, and at the very middle underneath is like a heater. So it's meant to be for like the winter months when it's cold, you can like stay very toasty and warm under the kotatsu. And my friend really wants one, but it's the sort of thing where I was like, you know, that sounds like fun, but I'm like, I wonder if I would even use it. And like, knowing me, no, I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. I just don't know. I'm just not that. Well, for one, I'm not. In the infamous words of Elsa from Frozen, the cold doesn't bother me anyway. Or never bother me anyway, sorry, get it right. No, I'm joking. But the cold, yeah, certainly doesn't bother me as much as the warm does. Hot take, I'd much rather be cold than too cold than too warm. Well, I guess too cold and too warm is uncomfortable on both ends, but I'd rather be cold than warm. No, cold than hot, I suppose. Well, I think most people would rather be warm than most other things, myself included. I'm not that crazy. I wouldn't prefer to be cold over warm, but I feel like heated blankets and these sort of things are a little bit stifling, if anything, even in winter, you know. Like, I understand the need for it when you are cold or something, like, you know, freezing house, sit down by the campfire or something. But when you got like heating on, I feel like it's very excessive to have like an electric blanket too. I suppose you could argue, I mean, that's kind of a point, you like don't have a heating on, you just have your electric blanket, so then it's like, maybe it saves energy, I suppose, because you're not heating up an entire like living area rather than just a local area to yourself. But I can't imagine a heated blanket is much more efficient than heating yourself up. So most of the times when I used to go to winter months, I would just like put a blanket over my legs or that something. I mean, right now I've got a blanket over my legs, and it's this blanket. It's actually about equal softness, I think, to the blanket I normally use. Yeah, so it's not too different. I will say a heated blanket's very interesting, though. At least the one I have. I don't even know what brand it is. I suppose I could look, but you know, I don't know where the label is. The most interesting thing to me about the heated blanket is the fact you can actually feel the wires for it, which maybe this is like, I mean, it was a relatively cheap heated blanket, mind you. It's not, I mean, I don't know if you get like designer luxury heated blankets of like really reputable brands. This is just sort of like a, you know, it's probably a decent one. It basically, all I can really say is it feels like there's like heat patches inside, interwoven into this blanket. I mean, you can sort of feel the wires as you go, as it like heats up. I don't know. Maybe it gets even warmer, I suppose. I have it on the lowest setting because I mean, I read it also wearing, mind you, like I always get confused. Is it dressing gown, nightgown, or sleeping gown? I'm wearing a one which you know, like casually wear over pajamas, that sort of thing. It's not. I think it's dressing gown. I remember like having a conversation once where I called it like a nightgown. I remember my friends were like, "What?" or something. You know, you're wearing a nightgown. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, like, nightgown is not what I meant. Nightgown is like this sort of dress thing you sleep in, which I don't even think I own a nightgown. I'm gonna be, well, maybe do I? Maybe I do. I don't. No, I don't think I actually do. Sleeping gown. But I always thought sleeping gown, nightgown, and dressing gown were synonymous with each other. Well, it seems it sort of is. I search sleeping gown, I see both nightgowns and dressing gowns. So maybe sleeping gown is like the overarching term. Anyway, I'm wearing a dressing gown. I don't even know how I got on this thing right now. So I feel like I'm kind of like warm enough already. I suppose it's ironic, if anything, because like my pajamas right now are like not even really pajamas. I've just most of the time the pajamas I sleep in are just oversized t-shirts, to be honest, because I don't know. I kind of find those most comfortable, if anything, to sleep in. Maybe I should get a nightgown. Maybe I'll be like, yes, this is it. Get like a nice silken nightgown or something. I don't know. I don't know if I want to sleep in silk, to be honest. I think sleeping in cotton is fair enough. Sleeping in silk just feels like too slidey. But yeah, again, I don't think I own anything which is like proper silk. And a proper silk is meant to be like lusciously soft, isn't it? So maybe I shouldn't judge. I don't know. Put that on the shopping list. I actually do have a shopping list of like clothes I want to buy, because sometimes I think about it. I'm just like, oh, like I've got this hole in my wardrobe, not literally a hole, like I have like a vacancy in my wardrobe of things which I should like buy. You know, like I don't have a light bomber jacket, and like sometimes I'll like putting like an outfit together and be like, oh, I wish I had like a bomber jacket or something to go with this, and I'll be like, put it on the list. Eventually I'll buy it. So let's just put a nightgown on here. Why not? What else do I have on here? I have a shawl, tube top I can get rid of. I've got a tube top now, and I don't really have sweatshirts, so I don't buy many sweatshirts. I don't have a striped one. Simple white shirt, flowy blouse. Oh, I wanted to buy some more maxi skirts because I've only got a few at the moment. A shawl. Heatless curls. I forgot about something I wanted to try. Because when I went to get a haircut, like the hairdresser was like, hey, you should try heatless curls. Your hair curls like really easily. And I was like, all right. And then I just never did. But at some point I should. Anyway, that's not the point. We're talking about, what are we talking about? I was talking about dressing gowns, but then I forgot. Oh, electric blanket, heated blanket. It's interesting that there's all these like different types of like specialist blankets now. I say nowadays, they probably existed before, but they're much more popular nowadays. Like the heated blanket, and I think the weighted blankets are ones which are like definitely very prominent. Like, I think one of my friends, he bought a weighted blanket, or maybe he bought a heated blanket. I can't remember. He probably has both, knowing him. But weighted blankets are something I see like the internet absolutely raving about. To me personally, I'm just like, I'm not sure if I want a weighted blanket. If anything, I kind of want like a light blanket as possible. Like the only blankets I really have or use, I suppose, are like my normal duvet, which I will use during the colder months, autumn, winter, start of spring. And then when it gets to the summer months, I have this like much thinner blanket, which is one from China. But there's actually like a type of blanket, which this one isn't actually, I suppose ironically, in China, well, maybe not just in China, in other countries probably as well, but I only know it because I'm Chinese, I suppose, called Mao Jin Bei, which, is that right, Dan? Mao Jin Bei. Which basically translates to towel blanket, which is basically a blanket which has a sort of like soft beach towel-esque texture to it, which is often used during sort of like summer. Like, I mean, in China it gets very hot. It's used to like sort of cool off rather than having like a thick duvet, you know, on top of you. Mao Jin Bei. Let's see if it comes up with anything. Soft cotton towels. Mao Jin Bei. Mao, Maojin Bay, Mao, Maojin Bay. Okay. Like, I mean, I'm just trying to see if it's a thing in like English. It's not. I mean, you can search it, Maojinbei, and you can see what I'm talking about. Towel quilt is what it's called. Okay, towel quilt. That doesn't look quite right. These towel quilts, like Google, look like the things you get in hotel rooms or something on top of duvets, which is not what I had in mind. Apologies, a little bit of a pause. I don't really remember what I was talking about except for electric blanket, which, you know, it's still here right now. If anything, I feel like I'm getting a little bit too hot with the electric blanket on, which is, you know, I think comical, all things considered. You know, it's the sort of thing where it's like, oh, you know, you turn the heating on and you're too hot or whatever, and you just like start taking off like layers or something just to be more comfortable. And then when you pause and think, you ever stop and think that maybe, you know, you should turn the heating down instead and just keep the layers on. But I'm very much the type of person who, instead of turning up the heating, would just put on more layers instead of anything, you know. Like, what's the most amount of layers I've just like been casually like walking around in, I suppose. Well, no, I mean, when I'm out and about, I suppose it feels a lot more reasonable to like go out wearing a thick duffel coat. I mean, sometimes I'll wear like a pair of leggings, and then I'll wear like some tracksuit, not tracksuits, but like comfortable trousers like over top of that, and then I'll have like a t-shirt or like a thermal, and then like a jumper on top, and then I'll wear a coat on top if it's like really cold or something. Because I don't know, that's the sort of person I am. I don't know. It does like I guess electric blankets never quite appeal to me because it's not easy to like move around in an electric blanket. I know that sounds dumb because it's like a blanket, like you can just put it down, and to me that just seems like a lot of like faff for nothing. Like why not just sort of like wear another layer? I don't know how to express that. I'm trying to not internalize. I'm trying to deconstruct why I have an internal, not dislike for blankets or anything. I have like an aversion, if anything, to electric blankets. Why it never like really appealed to me as much to really go out and get one. I think that's why. I think I tend to not use blankets because, like, even I'm honest, I'm probably far too sedentary, if anything. I still like get up and, you know, go do stuff, and it's annoying to have to like bring a blanket around or something. And I know some people just like drape a blanket over them like a cape or something, but I don't know. To me, that feels even more inconvenient because it's like, how do I keep the blanket on me? It's more at risk of falling off or like getting dirty or something. I'm like, I don't want that. Which is why I suppose like most of the time I sort of opt for a dressing gown, if anything. If I need to be a bit warmer, I'll put on another layer. Like, actually, I remember like one time when I was younger, I think I was like a teen or something. No, was I a teen? No, it might have been a teen. I can't remember. Where basically it got really cold after I had put on more layers. I was like, I don't have any like more layers to put on. And instead of turning on the heating for no apparent reason, I was like, you know what? I'll just put on like a onesie or something, because onesies are pretty loose and for sort of things. They're reasonably thick. They're sort of like, you know, well, most other clothes, you know, like hug your body, I suppose, quite tightly. Onesies are quite loose about it, and they sort of like trap things like a convection oven. This is not at all what I meant, but you know, they have the hot air as insulation, I suppose, to trap things in. And I went to sleep in the onesie, and I was like, what can I say except for I was very toasty, perhaps too toasty if anything, which is I suppose ironic, cruel twist of fate in the end. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit early days. Like, this is literally the first day with the electric blanket. Maybe, you know, I will be like, wow, I can't believe I've never lived without this. I mean, there's some things, you know, certainly. I'm not going to pretend that my way of living life is infallible or anything like that, or is even optimal. There's a lot of things which have been bought for me, and, you know, it has ended up being, like, amazing. Like, I think one, like, thing which I certainly didn't expect that for me to use a lot was the Stream Deck, which, like, my friends got for me 3 years ago, I can't remember. I use it all the time. It's actually incredibly helpful. It's not something I thought I would use all the time, but I do. It's incredibly useful for me. Even just this mini one. But who knows, maybe in the future I'll be like, oh, maybe I should get like one of the bigger ones. Especially because I hear it's quite nice to have one of these for like if you're drawing as well. But you know, currently I just use a keyboard. But I have also been recently thinking the keyboard is really big and unwieldy. It's quite like annoying to position it when you're trying to draw something. Because right now I had to basically position it behind my drawing tablet because I don't have a right ergonomic setup for me to be able to draw comfortably and also have my keyboard in range, you know. So maybe electrical blanket will be one of those things, or maybe it won't. I remember certainly when I was younger, we always used to use hot water bottles. When I was younger, I had this blue hot water bottle. Like me and my sister, we had one. I had a blue one which I think had like an elephant on front, and my sister had one with a lion on front. And it was just like your normal silicone, rubber maybe water bottle. I don't know. And it had basically like this cotton sort of. Skin's not really the right word, but coat sleeve that you could put it in to, you know, make sure that your kids, I suppose, don't burn themselves while like holding it or anything. But I remember like sometimes on the really cold winter nights, you know, we'd fill them up, of course, with like maybe not boiling water, but like hot water, I suppose, before bed and that sort of thing. And I would be like really cold, and you know, I'd like hug it and that sort of things. And sometimes I would like put my feet or like reach my hands into the sleeve, because how it basically worked is it's like a sleeve. Like, okay, imagine a hot water bottle, and then imagine like a cotton sleeve which goes around it. The slit, I suppose, to put the hot water bottle in is on the side. It's like on the face, the flat part of the hot water bottle. I used to like slide my feet in there, and even though like my feet sort of like kind of burned against the hot water bottle rubber, I was like, it's really cold, so you know, I do that to warm up. Yeah, I don't know why that memory necessarily came to me. So I don't know, maybe I suppose electric blanket's just like an easier way to keep warm, you know. I'm not going to write it off immediately. I forgot I was also talking about like weighted blankets and that sort of thing. Weighted blankets, I feel like, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it or something. Like, I feel like they're even like less appealing to me. Like, I don't know if I want a heavy blanket, if anything. I don't want the feeling of like a blanket pushing me down. I just kind of want I want me and my blanket to be in unison, you know, or lightweight or something. I don't know, I guess it's just like another thing to keep track of, you know. Clothes are nice because once you put them on, you don't have to really keep track of them depending on what you're wearing. But blanket's like a whole object I got to deal with, you know. I mean, it probably isn't surprising to you. I'm not the type of person to sit around like with a blanket, you know, like draped over me either, or anything like that. Which I know some people are, and if you are, by all means, carry on. And it's cozy, it's comfortable, why not? But I don't know, it's just not for me. But, you know, I got to give an electric blanket a fair shake, especially when it gets much, much colder. I feel like it's something I would definitely bust out. And, you know, as much as I say, you know, the cold doesn't bother me anyway, the freezing cold certainly does. And there's no point in just, like, trying to deal with it, you know. Just, like, properly deal with it instead of just, like, putting on another blanket and, like, still being freezing through the night, you know. Anyway, I guess I'll round this episode off here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we can see each other again, but for now it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.